Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's. Good afternoon, Lagos, and welcome to your technology show. And today it has been a rainy day, and hopefully we know there's going to be a lot of traffic. So while you're in traffic, we expect you to enjoy this show. And I'm your host. My name is Odo Emmanuel, and welcome to Tech Vibes. We're broadcasting live from our Marina studio. And this is Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio station in Nigeria. And you can also join us via our social media handle via Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and on Instagram and Twitter at Lagoon Radio NG. For more information and up to date, you can also catch us on our social media, on our YouTube channel at Lagoon TV, and on our website, which is at lagoon.news. It's about 7 minutes past the hour of 3, and today we're going to be looking at a very, very important topic, and we are going to be talking about top 10 must-have tool as a DevOps engineer. So before we go into details, let's go on a short music break, and when we come back, we will dive into this in depth. We'll be right back shortly.
Search my soul, take my shame, take it deep within. Search my heart, search my soul, take my sin, and give me back to you. By your precious blood, I will dwell in you. By your righteousness, I will by your gracious love, I will sing your name. By your righteousness, I will walk with you. Search my heart, search my soul. In this wilderness, seek with me. Search my heart, search my soul. In my presence, give me back you. Your precious blood, I will dwell by your righteousness. I will by your gracious love, I will seek your name. By your righteousness, I will walk. I walk with you. Your precious blood, I will dwell in you. By your righteousness, I will walk. By your gracious love, I will seek your name. By your righteousness,
It's not finish.
I will walk. I walk with you. Search my soul.
It is not finished.
Take it deeply. Search my soul. Take my seat. Lead me back to you.
You're welcome back to channel Lagoon Radio, and this is 11 minutes past the half three. And today we're going to be looking at top 10 tools that you need to have, or top 10 skills that you need to have as a DevOps engineer. So, firstly, we're going to be starting with version control. Of course, as a DevOps engineer, you should be able to understand tools like Git, how to use GitHub, your version control tools. Basically, these tools are tools that helps you control your source codes. Where you, especially if you're working as a group, of course, you can't be the only one working on projects. So it's just like a tool that helps you warehouse your it's of course a distributed version control, which is used to manage different versions of the source codes that of course the company is pushing in. So depending on the kind of apps that the company has, these are tools these are of course the tools that will help you. For instance, the likes of your Git. Git is a platform that helps you actually manage your source control. It's a source control platform that helps you manage your source code. So I guess it's a very good tool to have. It's a must-have tool. It's a skill that you must acquire on how to use, how to push your source codes to either your cloud platforms, or maybe your local storage. Maybe you have a platform where you store locally. Then there's continuous integration servers. Of course, you have servers where you store these source codes. You should be able to know how to remote into these things. For instance, if you have cloud servers like your Windows Azure, you have your ASW, you should be able to push your codes, you should be able to manage them. You should be able to use tools like containers, to be able to manage your your applications. So for instance, we're going to be looking at some of them. There's Kubernetes, because it's a portable, extensible open source platform that manages containerized workloads and services, that facilitates both declarative and configurations, and of course automation. The word Kubernetes, of course, originated from the Greek word, which means helpsman or pilot. So it's a tool that helps you actually manage your workflow. Then of course we have Maven. Maven is an optimization tool which helps you, of course, to build and manage your projects. These are tools, of course, that helps you manage your project's life cycle. So depending on your team and how large you guys are, so it's a tool that helps you, of course, manage your source codes. Then we have, of course, as a DevOps engineer, you should be able to use tools for testing like Selenium. This helps you manage, it helps you do run your test end-to-end test on your platform. So for instance, if you're coding, you should be able to test your apps before you deploy it to live. Then you'll be able to version the test before you deploy the your before you go live. You should be able to have a test version tested and ensuring that those apps are functional. Maybe there are new features you want to build into the platform or existing versions that you need to upgrade or modify or update or putting new content into. So these are tools that helps you actually manage your testing, end-to-end testing. Because there's no how you build apps and you don't test them. Of course, you need to do your unit test. You need a lot of testing to ensure that the platform is stable. Because you can't build an app and when your end users are using your platform, it starts to crash or starts to give some funny bugs or errors. If an application is prone to error, of course, the feedbacks from your users will be very, very bad. They might not even want to use your platform anymore because if it's not stable, who's going to use a platform that's not stable? So it means it will be prone to hacking and so many things. So nobody's going to put in their information into a platform that's not stable and it's not secure. So that's why it's very important that you test before you deploy. So another tool is Jenkins. Jenkins, it's a tool, a continuous integration tool, which is used for building and testing, deploying software applications. This is one of the major tools that you need to learn as a DevOps engineer because it's a tool that helps you manage your application lifecycle from integration to building to testing and of course deploying to your servers. Another tool again is Docker. Docker is a container that helps you, it's a lightweight container that helps you manage your work effectively and efficiently, running different environments. So you can run different things on your Docker container. This helps you build your applications real time. Deploy. Sorry, I mean running different images of the different tools that you need to run on a container. It's very easy and makes a lot of sense. So everything you need is inside, from testing to deployment to different images of operating system to different tools that you might want to use. So having the skill sets of deploying apps using Docker, it makes a lot of sense. One, it's highly scalable and it's efficient. You know, your data volumes can be reused, portable across different platforms, and applications runs in isolation. So it's short boot up time. These are part of the benefits or the advantages of using a tool like Docker. So another tool again I want to talk about is Ansible. Ansible is a beautiful open source software that provides configuration management and its information task automation. Of course, it's an open source tool for any IT experts. It helps you to from configuration management to deployment and of course orchestration tools. And this it aims to provide large productivity gains to a wide variety of automation challenges. It's a tool that is simply used. It's very easy to use, and but it's very powerful because it's powerful to automate complex multi-tier IT application environments. So it's a very beautiful tool for you to be able to use, especially if you're an administrator or a back-end engineer. These are tools that you must learn how to use. You must know how the application works, and you should be able to know how to use them to deploy your solutions. Then there's another tool called Terraform. It's a tool for building, changing, and versioning. So for instance, you're building your apps. Of course, your apps should have version 1.0, depending on how frequently you do upgrades and update your platforms or your application. So it's a very beautiful tool for you to use. So these are specific, all these tools that I'm talking about are specific to DevOps engineers, especially server-side engineers, people who actually, manage the entire architecture of a company. So if you want to venture into this space, you should be able to know that I'm using this medium to like explain to you specific skill sets that you need to have or that you need to know or that you need to be aware of for you to be able to, you know, for you to be able to say that you're a DevOps engineer. So these are basic tools that you need to learn how to use, or you must have learned how to use them. So because they are very, very essential. Without these, you won't be able to make any headway. Because a lot of apps now require a lot of infrastructure, a lot of servers sitting on different platforms. So having this knowledge or these skill sets in being able to use all these tools will really help you, go a long way as a DevOps engineer because there's a lot of room space for DevOps engineers because of course most of businesses today or companies are technology driven. So so that means there's a need for a lot of DevOps engineers, and there are spaces for them because, of course, as technology evolves and a lot of companies are, vying into the technology space, it means that there's a lot of competition and, of course, there are a lot of openings for people who have this kind of skill sets. So there's another tool called Chef. Chef is a configuration management tool which enables you to manage and configure multiple systems on a physical and a virtual machine. So these are tools that you should be able to have and you should be able to know how to use them. They are tools that are very, very good and very essential that once you know how to use them, of course, it will be easier for you to get direct employment because there are a lot of companies that need these people with this kind of skill sets to be able to manage their infrastructure. So there's another tool called Puppet. Puppet is an open source configuration management tool which is used for managing multiple servers. So imagine if you have multiple servers and you need to integrate them in one, having an interface where you can manage your multiple servers, which will run multiple things. Maybe you have a different server that manages your database, you have different servers that manage your web your web applications, you have different servers that manage maybe your UI, maybe you have a multi-tier, multi-layer kind of application approach. So of course you should be able to use a tool like Puppet to be able to manage all your servers or your server-side applications from your database to your web apps to of course your web servers. So Chef and Puppet are both pioneers in the DevOps movement, of course, offering popular enterprise-grade configuration and automation tools. When evaluating which, of course, is one of the right tool for you to be able to know how to use, and you should understand how Chef mission is evolved. And once you're able to know how to master these tools, I'm sure you go a long way in the DevOps space. Then there's this other tool called Splunk. It's a monitoring tool too, which allows a user to easily search and solve errors during development and testing stage. So these are tools that helps you manage lifecycle from testing to deployment to even after deployment, being able to manage your servers, know your uptime, downtime, being able to know if your applications have downtime or maybe of course maybe your server has crashed or something or maybe you've been acting to, so you should be able to see all these things real time. So as a DevOps engineer, your role is to be able to manage the server side, your architectural. Of course, having the cloud knowledge too is an advantage to you because being able to manage your servers remotely goes a long way, because it gives you that leverage over others. Being able to manage, being able to remote, being able to configure your servers, being able to secure them too. It's a plus for you as an administrator. So we'll go on a short music break, and when we come back, we would look at other tools that we can, explore. We'll be right back.
Do something good to my neighbor. Have I tried to do
Welcome back to Tech Vibes and it's 29 minutes past the hour of 3, and you're still onto your, and I'm still your host. And today we'll be looking at 10 top skills to have, 10 top tools to have as a DevOps engineer. And we started with talking about um, tools like Docker, we talked about Jenkins, I talked about Jira, then Marvin, and we still talked about Selenium as your testing tool. Then, of course, Ansible are part of the tools we talked about. So, but there's another thing I want us to look at. There's what is called continuous integration tool. So there are so many of them, configuration management tools that we can look at. So I have a list here of tools that we, of course, should be able to know how to use. Though they are similar, so as a DevOps engineer, of course, you might be aware of some. For instance, we've talked about Jenkins. Jenkins is a tool that it's very easy to install, and it's simple, user friendly. It's extensible and has huge community contributed plugins resources that you can use as an engineer. So, but there are some other tools too that are competing with Jenkins in that space. We have SQL CI. It's another good tool again that that gives Jenkins a run for its money. It's easy. It has easy debugging, automated parallelization, quick tests, personalized emails, and so many other features. So it's another tool again that you should be able to know how to use. There's TeamCity. TeamCity is a product of JetBrains, which basically it's build management and continuous integration server that helps you, manage most of your backend stuff. It's a good tool too. It's a good tool if you're able to lay hands on that and maybe acquire the skill sets. It's going to be a plus for you. And there's another tool called Bamboo. Still, it's under the continuous integration tool. So it's a good tool again that once you know how to use it, it will really help your workload as a DevOps engineer to really help you. It can detect new branch from your gates, your SVN, Mercurial, different types of repos. It's that's one of the major advantage to the others. Then we have GitLab, which is a very cool tool for you to be able to so from your deployment to testing. So it's a very beautiful tool to know how to use. Aside from DevOps too, of course, as a programmer or if you're writing apps, you should be able to know how to use good version control tools like Git, GitLab, Mercurial, SVN. There's so many out there. Bitbucket, so GitLab. So being able to use this version control tools helps you to not just manage, it helps you to, help you monitor your code base and help you, do real-time push of your source codes to your cloud platform. So we have Buddy. Buddy too is a good tool that helps you manage, it's easy to customize Docker-based images as a test environment. Smart change detection, state-of-the-art caching, parallelism, and all around optimization. This is a very beautiful tool so that once you know how to use it, it's attachable service with Elastic, MariaDB, Memcached, Mongo, PostgreSQL, RabbitMQ, Redis, Selenium. So it's a very beautiful tool to know how to use. Buddy is a cool tool. So as a DevOps engineer, you should be able to look at this. Then we have Travis CI. Same thing. It helps you. It's just a configuration management tool that helps you. It's very easy to set up your pull request supports deployment to multiple cloud services, pre-installed database service. auto deployment on passing builds. So as a DevOps engineer, you should be able to understand some of these terms I'm talking about. But for those who are aspiring to be a DevOps engineer, there are specific things that you need to know. That's why we are taking our time to enlighten or itemize some of these tools, because of course we have a very challenging ecosystem as a DevOps engineer. You have a lot of tools which you need to now know how to manage or how to use them, because once you don't know how to use this tool, of course you'll be out of job, because nobody's going to employ you if you don't know the basic tools or the tools that are trending or the tools that you ought to know as a DevOps engineer that will make your life easy, because there's no point reinventing the wheel. There's no point doing the manual way of doing things. These tools are designed to help most developers and back-end engineers synchronize their works. So while you develop, you deploy, you test you create pipelines, you test. Once your test models are okay, you can deploy and push to life. So basically, these are tools that we should know how to use. There's CodeShip. It's another beautiful tool. It's a hosted platform that supports easily, and it's automatic software, releases multiple times, sorry, integrates integrates with any tool, services, cloud environment of your choice. So whether be it Nginx, whatever platform or cloud-based service you want to use, be it Amazon, be it Windows Azure, be it any cloud platform that you intend to use, it will generally or easily integrates with it. So it's easy to use, of course, provides fast and thorough development and developer support. So the most important thing about some of these tools is the ability to give you. So as a DevOps engineer, it is very, very important for you to look at these tools and select the one that best fits your kind of job, or the kind of infrastructure that your company has. And it will go a long way to help you manage your workload, because once you're able to have a grasp about how these tools work and how to use them, it makes your life or your job very easy. So we have Weka. Weka is a suitable choice for developers who are working with or considering starting a new project, based on Docker. It supports Git integration, includes GitHub, Gitbucket, GitLab. In fact, almost all the version control tools can work with it. Replicates the SaaS environments locally, using their CLI, helps debug and test pipelines before deploying. Because deployment is crucial. Once you deploy, you won't want to deploy an app that is not stable, or that's buggy. So of course your app should be bug free before you deploy. You need to run series of tests, both unit and comprehensive tests end to end before you deploy. So these are tools that generally you should be able to know how to manage, how to use them, how to deploy them, and how to, of course, manage them after deployment. Because it's not just deployment; it's all about being able to manage the entire workflow, depending on when you decide to leave the organization or the company, or even if it's your personal startup. Never Code too is another tool that we can use, and it's a very good tool. Automatic configuration and setup, test automation and unit tests, code analysis, real device testing, test parallelization, automatic publishing, iTunes Connect, Google Play, Craylytics, Test Fairy, Oki app. These are tools where you can actually automatically deploy. So you see that most of these tools have their cons and So where they are good at and where the others, can, beat them, outsmart them. There's Pinnacle. This is a multi-cloud continuous delivery platform that supports releasing and deploying software changes across different cloud providers, including your Amazon Web Service, EC2, Kubernetes, Google Compute Engine, Google Kubernetes Engine, Google App Engine, Windows Azure. So see, and this tool, has key features. It creates deployment pipelines that runs integration and system tests, spin up and down server groups, monitor rollouts, trigger pipeline via gates, events, Jenkins, Travis, CI, Docker, crons, all that Spinker pipelines. Create and deploy immutable images for faster rollouts, easy rollback, and the elimination of hard to debug configuration drift. In a nutshell, it's an open source platform that allows you manage your deployment. So it's more like a container. Then we have build bots. This is another beautiful tool that helps you automate and compile, test to validate code changes, then automatically rebuild and test the tree after every change. So this is a beautiful tool too that you can use, automates your build system, applications, deployment, and manages sophisticated software release processes. So these are beautiful tools that we can use as a DevOps engineer. The whole idea is for you to be able to have, being able to understand. Of course, you don't necessarily need to know all of them, but it depends on the kind of company and their requirements. It's just good for you to understand at least a top level understanding of how most of these tools work. So once you understand how they work, I don't think they are too difficult for you to be able to use. So once you're able to get an insight of how these tools work, then you can easily, run around with them. Be able to use them and wherever your services are being needed. So these are part of the things that we need to learn as a DevOps engineer. These tools are very, very important for us to be able to know how to use. Ability to use this tool is going to give you a serious leverage over others, because when others will be struggling to use some of the tools, you're already a master of many of them. Because the truth being told, there are similarities between these tools. There are almost the functions are not too different from others, though they are written on different languages, and they have different code base. But having like a top level understanding of how these things work will help you a long way. It will help you a long way. So that's for that. So of course, you should be able to understand the IT automation and orchestration. You should be able to know how these things work. You should be able to know how to use them. So for automation, you should be able to understand how to support an app moving into production, because this is a very crucial or a very critical state. Being able to push your app to production requires a lot, and aside from pushing it to your production server, that managing it too requires a lot of time and effort and a lot of energy, because once there's a downtime on your server or your application, it means you'll be losing money and you'll be losing customers. And so I don't think you would really want that to happen to you. So just being able to use some of these tools, or some of these tools have their own advantages and disadvantages. They have their benefits, and being able to know which one is which and being able to recommend it to your company so that it will So, okay, for instance, between Jenkins, Circle, CI, TeamCity, Bamboo, and GitLab, fine. Jenkins is open source, the rest are closed source. They are not free. In terms of ease of use, I think they are pretty minimum. Okay, they are all still in the same line of circle. But on built-in features for secure, I think Jenkins is still rated lower than the rest in terms of hosting on-premise cloud. Team City is still on-premise, but the rest out there you can do on-premise, and of course you can host them on the cloud. It's hosted on its cloud platform. So for free version, yes, they all have free versions. Build agents, licensing, pricing for Jenkins free. The rest are paid. Support OS for Jenkins, of course, it supports Windows, Linux, Mac OS, Unix. You know, so for Circle, I see mostly Linux and Mac OS. Yeah, for TeamCity, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, Solaris, FreeBSD, and more. Then for Bamboo, Windows, Linux, Mac, and Solaris. For GitLab, Linux distribution, Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, Oracle, Linux. So you can see that there are differences between them. So for me, if I were to choose, I think I would rather prefer to go with Jenkins because it is flexible and easy to use. But depending on, of course, like I rightly said, it all depends on the kind of it depends on the kind of the architecture, the way your company's infrastructure is designed. So you need to understand how those things work. Then you tailor it to fit into the company's IT architecture, basically. So that's for that. And like I rightly said, so it all depends on how your company is structured and your infrastructure, of course. Then you now decide on which of the platforms to use. If it's Jenkins, if it's Cycle IC, if it's TeamCity, it all depends on what you're looking at and how you tend to deploy or in terms of your architecture, what you have on ground. So let me just, do a quick recap. We talked about Git as your version control tool. Is a tool, is a go-to tool that you need to have as a DevOps engineer. You need to know how to use Git. It is one of the tools, it is a must-have tool. It's a tool that you must know how to use as a DevOps engineer. You must learn how to, you must know how to use Git. It's very, very essential. It's important. The plus for you is if you know how to implement Kubernetes, to be a very beautiful plus for you because being able to know how to deploy it, how to manage servers, how to, especially if you're working in an enterprise platform where you build enterprise applications and your applications need to be uptime, 100% uptime, no downtime at all. And it depends on the kind of workload. So each cloud platform has its own advantage, has its own, benefits over others. So, of course, before a company decides to choose an IT infrastructure, they'll have to look at what best fits their business model. It's not about just hand as a DevOps engineer. It's very good you understand cloud architectures too, because of course, how do you deploy these applications if you don't know how to deploy, how to remote into all those cloud platforms, how to even set up, how to manage source controls, how to version applications, how to know when to deploy an app. So these things are skills that you must have. And of course, you need to understand the backend architecture too. Server side applications, you need to know how to secure platform. You should be able to know should be grounded in Linux and of course maybe Solaris and other maybe Windows Server basically. But these are tools you need to know how to use. Of course, Docker is a go-to tool for both developers and DevOps engineers. Docker is a tool that you must know how to use. It's a go-to tool, because of course there are a lot of images that you can just spin off instantly, and you work on them and deploy your apps real time. It's easier for you to be able to test your applications, portable across different platforms. It's a, shoots puts up uptime. It's very scalable and it's a very very efficient. And the data volumes, of course, can be reused. So tools like this are very very important if you know how to use them. Very very important. It's a plus for you as a DevOps engineer to be able to know how to use these tools. It really help you go a long way because, truth be told, infrastructures these days needs to be properly managed, and of course if your source codes are not properly, if they are not properly, of course, segmented, you of course you have issues, especially when you want to go live, you want to test different applications real time, or you have multiple applications that you need to, test. If you don't properly synchronize them, if you don't properly have a well-structured pipeline on how to push those codes and test them real time, because you have issues. So basically, that's it. Then Terraform too is a good tool that we can learn how to use. This is a beautiful tool that that can help you actually achieve a lot as a DevOps engineer. This is a very beautiful platform. It's a tool that can help you achieve a lot in terms of versioning, infrastructure. It's very safe and efficient. It can manage existing and popular service providers as well as custom built-in house solutions. So these tools are very powerful tools to help you manage, integrate, test, deploy your tools as a DevOps engineer. These are go-to tools that you need to know how to use them. I know. So for instance, like the Chef and Puppet, these are very beautiful tools that offer, enterprise-grade configuration automation tools that you can use in your organization that can help you to from end-to-end automation. So these are tools that you need to know how to use. Automating application delivery that helps your organization with very fast and efficient way to scale. Automation is very key when it comes to development, and in terms of from like 2 weeks ago we talked about DevOps, DevSec, sorry, SecDevOps, where you talk about you design your security architecture from scratch in line with your database administrators, your backend engineers, then your developers, both your backend developers and your front end developers, so that you're building the entire from scratch, the entire security to the app deployment, whatever you're doing, everything is built from scratch. This helps you manage end to end your solutions so that, of course, it will be scalable. It will be at least a bit safe for you to be able to use. At least it will be very difficult for hackers to be able to hack into your system if you properly secure your platform, and if you're able to push deep. So these are basic tools that we should know how to use. So let me do a quick recap. I talked about Jenkins. I talked about the version controlling tool like your GitHub, your Bitbucket, your GitLab. These are tools you should know how to use. Then containers like Kubernetes, Docker, um, so many of them. There's so many companies who run such services. Then your automation tools like Maven, Jenkins, of course Ansible, Then Terraform. These are tools that, of course, if you know how to use them, it will really help your company go a long way in terms of from your architecture to deployment, which is very, very key, especially when you develop a timeline for testing and deployment. Because, of course, if you're building an app, you should face for um, improvement and of course, there will be constant updates and constant remodeling of the application. You need to add new features to make the application robust. You need to upgrade as your customer base increases, as the usage of the application expands. Of course, you'll be looking at larger cloud-based solutions that can help you manage your architecture from your infrastructure as a service to maybe your software, depending on your business model. So now it depends on what you're looking at. So these are tools that can help you manage your business process, your development process real time, end to end. So this is just a rundown of tools that we should know how to use as a DevOps engineer. So the whole idea is for us to be able to be aware and know what is obtainable in 2021, the tools that you should know how to use, the advantages of others, being able to master at least some of those tools will give you like a higher leverage to other competitors that might other people in your space who wants to become DevOps engineers. So while others are still playing catch up, you're already there because you understand how to use most of all these tools. It will be a plus to you and added advantage for you to be able to know how these tools work. And if you need to learn and know more about these tools, you can drop a comment below or follow us on our WhatsApp page on our social media handle and drop a comment on the particular tool that you want. Then maybe we'll look at it and see how we can help you. Maybe do it maybe a live stream on how to use the tool, any particular tool at all out of all the tools I've mentioned that you think you might want to use, or you have an interest in using those tools. You can just drop a comment below, even on this YouTube stream page. We can work out something and see how we can develop, or maybe come up with a video tutorial on how to teach you how to use those tools. I still remain your host, Odo Emmanuel, and at this point, I'm going to be signing out. Follow us on all our social media handle, and don't fail to check out our website, which is lagoon.news. Please drop your comments on our social media handle. Facebook is Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and Twitter and Instagram is Lagoon Radio NG. And on our YouTube page, it is lagoon.tv. Please endeavor to drop your feedback. It's very, very key. Anything you want us to talk about, just let us know. And at this point, I am signing out. Enjoy the rest of your day, and peace be with our country. Signing out at this point.